Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's Dealer On webinar, 5 processes to improve gross and volume for your used car operation. My name is Eliana Raggio and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by Dealer On. For anyone who isn't familiar with Dealer On, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, best known for our amazing SEO, the absolute best customer service, and the highest converting website designs in the industry, including the brand new Chameleon responsive website platform. And I'm thrilled to announce that DealerOn was recently named as a top-rated website provider in the 6th Annual Driving Sales Dealer Satisfaction Awards. And not to forget, we also won the Pinnacle Award from AWA. That's the highest award a website company can get. And for more information on who we are and what we do, hey, check us out at our gorgeous, brand new DealerOn website, dealeron.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're so very pleased to have Jasen Rice as our presenter today. Jasen Rice is the owner of LotPop, a company that helps dealerships manage their internet processes, marketing, and used car inventory as their virtual director. A 17-year automotive veteran, Jasen spent over 8 years on the retail side, running award-winning internet departments, and another 8+ years on the vendor side as a performance manager for vAuto that allowed him to visit hundreds of dealers across the nation, training them on used car inventory management. He's helped many dealerships greatly increase their used car sales. Jasen was featured on the cover of Digital Dealer magazine in October of 2005, and he was awarded the 2006 AAISP Professional Excellence Award. He's currently a columnist for Dealer Magazine and a featured blogger for Auto Success Magazine. He's spoken at several conferences on used car management and internet marketing, and Jasen can be reached at jrice@lotpop.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry, we're going to respond to you by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for your reference, and please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends at LotPop are giving away a great prize today on the webinar. Oh, you heard it. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be winning a $200 Visa gift card. Now that is awesome, and I really wish I was able to win it, but I'm not. You are, though. All you have to do is stay on the live broadcast, and you could be the one walking away with this awesome prize today. Also, at the conclusion of this webinar, you're going to receive a really short survey. It's 5 questions, so please fill it out. We're always looking for your great feedback. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's learn 5 processes to improve gross and volume for your used car operation. Jasen Rice, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Excellent. Thanks for having me again.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. I will never forget last time you were on. You floored me when you took us live and we went and you showed me the thing. Look, if you didn't see it, if you weren't here, I'm so sorry about that, but you're going to have to go to dealeron.com/webinars and look at our past webinars and look up Jasen Rice's last webinar with me. He floored the entire audience. It was awesome. I will never forget that. I was belly laughing at how great it was. And you know what? You picked another phenomenal topic, but I got to tell you, it sounds a little unbelievable. Because there's a lot of people out there who have a used car operation and they sacrifice either gross or volume or both in order to sell those cars.
Yep. And that, and that's what I've learned over the years going to travel, and it's probably been thousands of dealers, and it is possible to get gross in volume, but there's a lot of work behind it. And as like last presentation, I got a ton of slides to go through, so I'm going to be talking really fast, but there's so much to it, and I want to take a deeper dive. Some of the stuff I'm going to bring in are things you've heard before, but I want to take a deeper dive into some things we're just not doing. But there's a lot of tracking, manpower that goes behind these steps that if you do apply them, they do get you that gross and volume. You can do both.
I would love to know more. Where do we begin? What are the kinds of things we're going to be learning about?
Well, the first one I want to go over is, the objectives is to go over the differences between velocity and volume. Again, working with vAuto, a lot of dealerships initially would start out and just say, hey, you guys, the velocity thing just wants me to sell more cars at a cheaper price, give them away, and that's volume. That's not velocity, and I want to go over the differences of those. I want to go over and give you processes that you can do now that will make a difference. Every article I wrote, every webinar, anything I do, I'm not doing a sales pitch. I just want to give you information and processes you can implement today that'll make a difference, and that they don't cost you a dime. It just takes some work. Metrics that matter, that make a difference. There's so many things you can measure out there. Again, over the last year and a half, being on tracking things that weren't tracked before consistently, these are the numbers that make a difference to be able to take inventory and turn them around to be a true velocity. And again, velocity being volume and gross. And get you kind of a new focus on used car marketing. That kind of goes over my last webinar. Eliana went over. If you get a chance, take a look at that. I'll be scratching the surface on some of the stuff I covered, but that definitely will give you a deeper dive into that. But we'll have to cover some new focuses on used car marketing. And then, of course, at the end, we'll have the question and answer session.
I love it. And of course, if we have anyone out there who's hot on the Twitter sphere and you're going to tweet out some things from today's webinar, we would love it if you would also include us. I'm at Eliana Raggio. Of course, Jason is at LotPopAuto. And if you could use also the hashtag DealerOnWebby so I could look it up, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, take it away. Where do we begin?
Well, let me go over kind of, again, what we're going to go over are things that are going to get you instant results and be able to get your inventory turning more efficiently. There's dealers out there that have great average days in inventory, 30-day average and stuff, but they're still sacrificing and losing that gross because of that age policy. There's some screenshots of, dealers that I work with and what we can do driving down that average age. And actually, a lot of these stores and these processes, again, I'm not bringing you something that's proprietary. These are things that you should be doing and can be doing. But I've seen it take dealers from 70 cars a month to 250. I've seen it go from 35 cars a month to 100. I got a dealer that is selling November and December were their second best years of the month with $1 million less in inventory. So that's true velocity. Is even though we got the turn to something average day to 17, they're always around 20, but we're selling more cars with less dollars, and that's less risk or less interest that you're paying. So these type of processes do get you results. So the first thing I want to go over, again, the misperception of the difference between velocity and volume. And velocity is maximizing your gross profit, okay, maximizing gross on your inventory as a whole, okay, and the dealership's profit altogether. It reflects in the service and so forth. And volume is just necessarily sell more cars. I can carry 120 units, sell 70, and if I want to get to 100, typically what a dealer would do would crank up his inventory to 150 to try to sell 30 more cars. And that's not velocity, that's volume. You're just going to shove more dollars at it to try to sell more, and a lot of times that doesn't work. So in order to, again, maximize your gross, I want to go over, what is really costing you gross. When I go into dealerships, when I went into doing conferences and stuff, I would ask dealers, what is costing your gross? And here's a typical list of what dealers would tell me. It took too long to get through service. My turnaround time takes forever. Reconditioning is way too expensive. By the time I buy a car and try to price it competitively after recon it, there's no money left. Transportation's hard, taking too long. Sale process giving us gross. We pay too much for our vehicles. They're going for too much money at the lane. Aged inventory. And kind of common one too, especially with vAuto, and when they first start with it, they think their grosses are suffering because they price a car too cheap. Okay, and so I wanted to address all these right here, especially the first ones. These are symptoms and not really the problem. These are things we know sometimes when it took too long to get a car through service, but we try to overcome that by acting like it's 1 day old when it's really 21 days old because it took too long, and we jack up our pricing. But we know that the car is an issue in the first place. All these things we know are issues, and we need to address them. But pricing a vehicle too cheap typically isn't the reasoning. So over the years doing some conferences, I pulled some data at those conferences and of the dealers that were attending. So I want to kind of give you a glimpse at what those numbers are. This example would be close to 100 dealers in 4 different markets, major metropolitan type markets, but we pulled in dealers from everywhere. And I wanted to look at how much of their inventory did they sell and when did it leave their lot when we sold inventory. We can go over what's really costing them gross. So with these dealers, of the cars that they sold in the first 30 days, they had an average markup of $2,693, almost $2,700, and they're priced at 98% of the market. What that means is they're priced just 2% below market. So when a dealer says, I think we're losing gross because we're pricing our cars too cheap, I don't think that's the case here. We're not too cheap. We're pretty much right around market average. And there's plenty of gross here, $2,700 markup. Again, I say markup that's the potential. That's if we don't negotiate anything away. The problem was only 42% of their sales came out in the first 30 days. And a lot of dealers, and that's actually pretty good. Most dealers that are suffering with gross will push out only 20 to 30% of their sales are going out in the first 30 days. And we all know, being in an industry, that you're going to make the most money on that fresh inventory. The 0 to 30 cars is where the money's being made. The top performers in the country will push out 60, 70% of their used car inventory sales in the first 30 days. I have a dealer that actually touches 80%. So if anything that's costing gross, essentially just off the screen right here, it's not that we price our cars too cheap or recon or this and that, it's we don't sell enough of our fresh inventory. And so consequently, with the cars that end up bleeding through and becoming age, 30% of these dealers' sales went out on what I considered age unit cars that took longer than 60 days to sell. So a third of their sales went out on aged inventory. And again, the top performers will do less than 10%, usually around 5, 6%. But we are going to have some cars that bleed through an age. We might strategically hold on to a car till spring. Maybe we got a convertible right now and we don't want to lose a ton of money, so we'll hold out till spring or something, or some subprime cars that book out good. I'll have some inventory bleed through, but I'm going to be well aware of it, and I have a strategic plan for it. But of that 30% sales, they only had a $140 markup. Again, that's only the maximum they could have made if they didn't negotiate a penny. And again, that's not actually too bad. Most dealers lose upwards of $700, $800 on cars that get past 60 days old, or they wholesale them for a bigger loss. So again, I ask you, what's really costing you gross profit is we're not selling enough fresh units where there's a ton of markup in them, and we're pushing through too much age, a third of the sales going out. And those, when we're pushing a third of our sales out with maybe a couple $100 to be made, or losing hundreds of dollars, that's what's really costing you gross. Okay, so one of the first processes that I go into when I look blindly at a dealership, and I'm going to start off with the fact that I'll tell you here is a lot of the things I reference is going to be, and some screenshots I may have will be based off of vAuto. I'm not here to pitch or sell vAuto. It's just a system I know like the back of my hands. Again, I worked with them for 8 years, so I'm not here to push any products or anything like that. But it is a good tool. And the first place that I always went into, and most of the dealers I work with, or all of them have vAuto currently, is I go and look at what percentage of their dollars that they're selling in the first 30 days. And that is one of the first processes that dealers need to track. If you don't know where you're pushing your dollars out at, you need to start tracking that information. So how much is going out in the first 30 days, and how much is going out 60 plus? In order to improve anything, I've learned that over the years with process management, internet departments, used car departments, is you need to track it. And jokingly say, if you want to lose weight, get on the scale every day. Once you start tracking how much you weigh and that you're not happy with it, you're going to do something to get different results. So if you can, and I say dollars because that's what I want to get a turn on. Our used car managers are essentially stock portfolio managers. We're handling $1 million, $2 million of a stock portfolio. A dealer will come to you and say, here's $1 million, $2 million of inventory. I want you to give me a return in 60 days, and easy math, I want a 10% return on that investment. So the dealer is expecting to make a $200,000 return in 60 days. He's wanting those dollars. And he may or may not care if it's 10 units or 100 units. I want that $200,000. Now, as a true velocity dealer, we do want units so we can get more trade-up opportunities, more F&I, more service. But again, it's the dollars. If you can't track the dollars, again, in vAuto, there's a way to do that. If you're in another system, if you can't track the dollars, at least do the units. Know where these cars are being sold at. Okay. And this is a screenshot of week after week. We're taking a look at what we're pushing out every week over the last 2 weeks of sales and seeing if that number is increasing or decreasing. Okay. So this leads in, Aliana, is our first poll question.
That's correct.
The second process.
Thank you so much, Jason. Okay, audience. This is your first of 2 poll questions. It's on your screen now. We would love it if you would get involved and answer this question for us. The question is, how often do you change the price of a vehicle? Please select one of the following answers. I do price changes every day. I do price changes every 1 to 7 days, every 7 to 10 days, every 10 to 20 days, or I don't handle price changes, or maybe we don't do that. So there you go. You have 5 options available. How often do you change the price of a vehicle? Is it you change the prices every day, every 1 to 7 days, every 7 to 10 days, every 10 to 20 days? Or maybe you're not the one who handles those price changes, or your dealership doesn't actually do that. Once I get, I already have a majority of the votes in. I love this. Audience, you are awesome today. I love my Thursday peeps. Okay, we'll wait for another couple of seconds, and then we'll close this and share the results. And I got to tell you, Jason?
Yes?
I don't know what the right answer is, or even if there is a right answer, but I think you're going to be surprised by what my awesome audience has to say.
All right.
And I will let you know why once I show you the results. All right, audience. Thank you for your awesomeness. I appreciate you. I'm going to close this poll, and we're going to share those results with everyone. All right, here's what's happening in the industry today. 8% of today's audience said that they do price changes every day. 24%, so almost a quarter of today's audience, said that they do them every 1 to 7 days. 32% of today's audience said it's every 7 to 10 days. 21% of today's audience say that they like to do price changes every 10 to 20 days. And 16% of today's audience said that they either don't handle the price changes or that their dealership doesn't do price changes. And what I thought was interesting about this was there was no one clear winner. Yeah. With the great cross-section that we have coming to these webinars every week, I really thought that there'd be 1 or 2 that was really just going to be like, oh yeah, everyone does it that way. But yeah. No.
Well, and again, this is where, and I bring this up, this is the second place I look at if dealers struggling with both volume and gross is what are their pricing habits. And there's not a used car manager out there that won't tell me, oh, I'm in there every day looking and changing prices, or I change price every, at least once a week. The catch on that question is how often do you change the price of a vehicle and not so much their inventory. So when they tell me that they're changing prices every day or looking at them, they're not in there doing it on every vehicle. And that's the difference. We need to look at our inventory every day and make adjustments. But here's, I think, you guys can see my screen, is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Here's the underlying problem. When we sit down to do price changes, typically as a used car manager, and again, this is one of the key factors of why a car ages. As a used car manager, they get busy. They wear so many hats at a lot of dealerships. I know, you walk in the morning, there's already heat deal in service. There's, 2 voicemail. Salesman's calling in sick. The first lot up's got a trade to appraise, and you got an auction starting in a couple hours that you even looked at. I mean, there's so much going on. And so we wear so many hats, and we get busy looking at all the stuff that's in front of our face. So we lose focus sometimes on what's not in front of our face. And so when they typically sit down to do price changes, they usually focus in 1 or 2 areas, or actually both. The first one is the obvious fresh stuff. You got to worry about it getting transported, getting it through service, getting it retime, get it photoed, get it priced, get a description, make sure these things are getting online. That's one of the major, and that's natural. We need to handle those cars. The second place, they go, oh crap, we got a bunch of aged inventory, and the boss just got on me last week about those. I need to clear them out. So we focus on aged inventory, get them priced, get them posted on OVE or Smart Auction, get them in the front line or in the showroom, get some attention to them. And by the time we do that and everything else that we're doing throughout the day, you know, there's some things that are getting ignored. And it's typically those middle bucket cars that get ignored because they're no longer fresh, and they're no longer aged. And again, throughout my busy day, I'm dealing with stuff that's in my face. And fresh is in my face, and age is in my face. These customers, trades, the auction, everything else is in my face. And these middle bucket cars, these are the ones that tend to bleed through and replace those aged vehicles we worked so hard to get out of. So as I got 10 aged inventory, I start busting out the pricing, get attention on them. I sell 6 of them, not even looking at the 40-day-old cars 2 weeks ago that are all of a sudden dumping in and replacing the 6 I just sold. And it becomes an endless cycle, okay? So the price change habits. You know, it's one thing to be in your inventory changing prices every day. This is an example of a screenshot out of the auto. You know, you could say a dealer's, oh, I'm in there every day looking at prices. But then when I in there, I could sort by last price change. And I like the 2-week window. I'll go over that here in a second. But if I got a vehicle that I haven't touched in more than 2 weeks, and I'm not getting activity on it, and the car's just sitting, it's going to bleed through and become aged. And every time I see cars, and again, these are almost a month old, these price changes, there are these middle bucket cars that are sitting there. So like the top car, it's been a month since we changed the price. It's 30 days old. We priced it day 1 and haven't touched it since. And over here, this 0 is basically telling us no one's looking at it online. No one's clicked on it. So to me, that's a huge issue. That's a car. If I don't start paying attention to it, it will continue to bleed through and cost me gross. It's too late to sell it in the 0 to 30. I didn't react fast enough to that. Now I need to get it out before it turns 60 so I can at least maximize my gross on it. So if you price that car right day 1, you shouldn't have to do too many price changes, right? And there are a lot of dealers that will change the price every 3, 5, 7, 10 days, and they'll drop it 100 here, raise it 100, drop it 200, and they move that price a lot around. And again, I get that strategy, and it works for some people, but again, I'm going over the processes that I know make an impact, and I give it 2 to 3 weeks of a price, especially it's an effective flat price. I went over that in my marketing, my last webinar, but essentially what I'm talking about in flat price is taking a car and pricing it at 20 grand instead of 19,995. By doing it 20 grand, I get the people that are shopping 20 grand and less, but I also get the shopper that says, hey, I want an SUV 20 to 25 grand. So when I have a price like that, I'm going to get a lot of eyeballs on it. And I might push that out to 3 weeks. If it's a fresh unit, I price it at 20 grand competitively, 2 to 5% below the market, and I've got that car priced competitively. I'm going to give it some time to what I call marinate. And I asked Aliana if I should put this in here, but I think it's kind of fun to take a look at. Everybody kind of understands what marinate means, but it's to say to meat or fish in the sauce for a period of time to add flavor and to make it tender, to soak in the marinade. And if we put it in car perspective, what I'm saying is if we get a good photo, a good description, and a competitive, effective price, I want that car sitting out there marinating in the market, get as many eyes on that car as possible in those 2 weeks. Soak in the market. Let thousands of people see this car pop up in their search results. And then, do bigger price changes of stuff like 500. It makes a bigger impact in the market. It makes a bigger impact on customers. When they maybe, there's sites out there now that allow customers to make a shopping cart or save the car, add it to my wish list. There's some dealer sites that have that. There's sites like Auto Trader that can add it to their garage. Or there's even some CRMs that will notify a customer when the price drops. And if they have this car sitting in the garage and I drop it $100 here, $50 there, 100, every week they're going to get a notification. And I think over time it kind of gets a little daunting. They realize you're just dropping. It's not going to make that customer jump out of their seat and run to the dealership because you dropped it $50. And it doesn't change your marketability. You're at 97% at 20 grand, and in 1 week you drop it to 19.9. One, you take away half the market for that $100. The $100 drop doesn't change you from 97%. It changes you right back to 97%. And again, I don't think the customer's jumping out of their seat to run to the dealership now to grab that deal. And again, I'll do $250 drops. If it's a smaller, it depends on how I'm positioned. I'll do a smaller drop, a $250 drop. But these bigger $500 drops, another strategy behind that is the fact that if you want that reduced logo on your listing on something like Auto Trader, you have to drop it 2.5%. So on a 20 grand vehicle, you're going to have to drop it $500 to even get that. So as dealers, and that's a misperception I've seen out there of tons, is a lot of people are dropping pricing thinking of $100 here and $100 there, that their car keeps getting this reduced on there, and it won't. And even a 10 grand car has to be dropped $250 to get that. So to me, dropping it in bigger chunks is going to give you, let the car marinate, get more eyes on it, get more exposure if it's priced competitively, do a bigger drop. The people that are keeping an eye on that car, one, they're looking at the car because they already know it's a pretty good price. But when you drop it in 2 or 3 weeks, $500, and all of a sudden, the phone starts ringing because they know it's a really good deal at that point in time. So again, 2 of the 5 processes. 1, manage where we're selling our age. Know what percentage of your inventory is selling fresh and what's going out aged. And 2, to help prevent cars being through and bleeding and becoming age, is manage the last time you did price changes. A car will age because we lose focus on it, and as we ignore those middle bucket cars, they bleed through and continuously cause an aging issue. Okay? So let me go into kind of the fun one here is, and I covered this a lot in my last presentation, is you got to do what I call virtual lot walk. You got to touch every car that's listed online and make sure they're standing tall. We understand this with our physical lot. We drive our lot in the morning, we make sure holes are filled, the deflated balloons are gone, they're clean, they're standing tall. But we don't manage and monitor what's being put out there on the internet. We assume the photo person's coming in and doing their job. And you're going to get thousands of more eyes on your cars online than you will your physical lot. I will take 2 holes on my physical lot today on the front line before I would let cars be displayed inaccurately online. So what I was saying is the fun part is I go through, part of what we do for our dealers is we manually go through every car listed online and give it our stamp of approval. We make sure the photos aren't blurry, they're not missing and looking bad, and the descriptions match up to the options to do that virtual lot walk for the dealer, because this is one that takes a lot of time and man hours. And a used car manager doesn't need to sit behind a computer all day long doing these things. So that's one of the things we do take care of. And I've got a hashtag out there for Twitter, virtual lot walk, that I put out because I stumble across these things all the time. And look at this. This has happened to be a snapshot from Auto Trader. Having a decapitated seat obviously probably won't help this car leave the lot anytime soon. Here's another one. A dealer's trying to be proactive and putting cars online before they're cleaned up. But think about the mindset of this photographer. Do you think the mindset of this photographer is in sales, a used car manager, a salesperson? Because to me, if that photographer mindset is a salesperson, they wouldn't have took this picture, right? This is one of even some of our better dealers. This is a dealer that does turn their inventory, have an average age of less than 20, and they have a little area they take. But you can tell this car is just washed, but there's stickers, there's leaves everywhere. Again, what's the mindset of a photographer by taking a picture like that?
Jason, you're kidding with these pictures, right?
No,
these are jokes.
That's why I'm showing the Auto Trader background. These are live shots.
There's no way dealers put those up.
This is a $38,000 Jaguar. Do you think anybody's coming in to buy this car in the first 30 days?
Because it says brake pad low.
Now, again, think of the mindset of the photographer. Why would you take that picture? They're not there for sales. They're there to get their job done and take pictures and move on. right? This is a particular car. I mean, the armrest is broken here. This looks like, I don't know what it is. I think it looks like one of those convertible, you know, the part that latches onto the windshield. That's what that looks like. I don't understand it.
Is that a bumper cover? What the heck is that?
I don't know. It's not. It doesn't belong in the car. I know that. Here's the best one. I showed this the last time, and I just get a kick out of this one. Dealer, again, trying to be proactive, taking a car before it gets through service and everything. Get some pictures up there, temporary pictures, until the car's ready for sale. One, it's on the rack, but two, it's all banged up, and this bumper sticker down at the bottom right says, "At least I can still smoke in my car."
Oh.
So anybody even just seeing that car, that truck right now, and then seeing it a week later when it's cleaned up, they know that happened. One, it doesn't, again, think of the mindset of the photographer. We got to inspect what we expect, and some people taking pictures don't comprehend that. I don't know why they would put pictures like, but you've got to watch this stuff. This isn't something a computer can do. A computer can't look at a photo and tell that the check engine light's on, right? You got to manually do this stuff, and you're not going to sell cars efficiently and fast when you're putting stuff like this out there, okay? I'll run into it every day. Like I said, go to virtual lot walk, this hashtag. You'll see a ton of them out there. You know, cars with smoke, but all it is it's cold out, and they didn't shut the engine off, but it looks like the car's on fire because there's smoke everywhere, or from the exhaust and the cold air. Or there's a lot of flat tire symbols coming on because with the cold, you know how your tires inflate, deflate. My wife's Escalade 1 comes on all the time.
Right.
And I'm seeing tons of pictures like that out there. Again, it's not appealing. It doesn't help that car sell any quicker. So you've got it. Again, the third thing you need to be doing is doing that virtual lot walk and making sure the cars are standing tall online. Okay. Fourth, a lot of people talk about this. We all pretty much should understand it, but we don't track it, and we don't know the cause and effects of it a lot of times and what we can do to adjust it. And that's know your SRPs and VDPs on sites like AutoTrader, Cars.com. I'm bringing those up because those are the two major intersections on the internet. And if I'm getting less traffic on my inventory, I better know it, okay? Look at that number daily, and look at that number and track it at least weekly. Look at it daily, track it weekly, okay? And this leads into my next poll question.
Okay, audience, we're ready. Your second and final poll question of the day is on the screen now. We'd love to know what you think. So here we go. How do you think you can improve your SRPs on sites like AutoTrader and Cars.com? Please select one of the following. Do you think better photos could help you improve your SRPs? Better vehicle descriptions? Do you think more competitive pricing will do the trick on sites like AutoTrader and Cars.com? Or do you think it's all three of those, all of those work? Or do you think none of those work? Once we get a majority of the votes in, we're going to close those polls and share the results. And I love you guys. They're on it, baby. They are voting. I love this. I love when you guys get involved. I especially love seeing, you know, what's really happening out there in the dealership world. So I'm very excited to see who is. By the way, before we get to the answer, before I close this, Jason,
yes.
Is there a correct answer to this? You have an answer for this, right? It's one of these, right?
Yeah, it's one of them.
It's one of them. Okay, just making sure. Audience, thank you so very much for your feedback on this last poll question. And by the way, if you haven't already sent in your questions for Jason for the Q&A session, hey, do so now. Use that question feature. We'd love to see what it is that we can help you out with. He's a great guy. I love this. Okay, here, let's close this and share the results. Well. We do have a runaway answer on this one, Jason.
What is it?
81% of today's audience said all of these work.
All right.
All right?
That opens up a whole perspective or can of worms for me, and I love that that's the answer that I anticipated. What percentage gave 5? Number 5.
Okay. 5% of today's audience said better photos. 3% of today's audience said better vehicle descriptions. 8% of today's audience said more competitive pricing. And only 3% of today's audience said none of these will work. But
I love the 3%.
all right, let me close this out. Let's go back to your screen. Okay.
All right.
What the heck is what?
Yes.
What?
And so that's good because, again, we have the mindset of what we anticipate or what we think can increase SRP VDPs, but they're actually totally wrong in a lot of those mindsets. And I'm not saying these people don't know what they're talking about. It's common every time when we ask about what can we do to increase SRP VDP. Oh, I can get better on my photos. I can get better on my descriptions. And those don't affect them, and I'll go over that here in a minute and why that doesn't work.
Okay, but wait.
Mm-hmm.
Before you wait. You just went over the first 4 of 5 processes that you should improve. And one of them was make your pricing better. And another one was make your photos better.
Mm-hmm.
But those 2 things don't actually help your SRPs?
They don't help your SRP. Here's why. Let's go over them. Better photos. 1, have you guys ever done a search before and seen a bunch of cars on AutoTrader and Cars.com with no photos or stock photos? All the time, right? So just because I have good photos doesn't mean it's increasing my search results. The only way that you can guarantee more search results on something like maybe AutoTrader or Cars.com is after the initial search, or if they do an advanced search and do photos only. But then, what about those cars with stock photos and stuff? You can't control your SRPs by getting more or better photos onto these sites. Does that make sense?
Okay. I got you.
Having better photos or getting photos, it won't guarantee you more search results. They'll pop up without them. 2, comments. 1, again, there's no way the customer says, hey, show me results with no comments. You've seen plenty of cars online with bad or no comments at all. That's a search result. Again, an SRP is a car, somebody does the search and a list of 50 or 25 show up. AutoTrader's 25, Cars.com's 50. If your car is on that list, it's a search result. So you can be on that list without photos or a horrible photo. You can be on that list with bad comments or no comments. Okay. Matter of fact, Cars.com doesn't even list comments on the SRP page, the search page. They don't have those comments. You got to click on a car, the VDP, to even see the comments. So your comments won't affect that.
Okay.
More competitive price. Let's dig into that one. Let's say customer says, I want a sedan no more than 20 grand. You're priced at 20 grand or even you're $19,999. All right? So you decide a week, 2 weeks go by and you decide to drop it $250 or $500. Customer does the same search. I want a car no more than 20 grand. You're still showing up in a search result. You didn't improve that search result. You're still there. Matter of fact, you might have worsened your search result or made the condition worse because AutoTraderCars.com lists high to low. If I've got a lower, I go from 20 grand to 19.5, that might put me on page 2 or 3 of the search result because there's a bunch of 19.9, 998, 975, 19.750s. So by dropping my price, I'm actually going further down the search list because they sort high to low automatically. They might flip it low to high as a consumer, but again, just because you dropped 2% doesn't get you a search result. The only way it does is if you went from 20,002 to maybe 19.9 or 20 grand, and you picked up that guy that said, I only want to spend 20 grand. Does that make sense? So
Okay.
by dropping my price doesn't give me more searches. I still show up at 19.9 as I did 19.5 if somebody's just looking for less than 20 grand car.
Now, we had one attendee named Jay. He said he got it right, that none of these will work. And he says those other 3 things improve your VDP, but they don't do anything for your SRP.
Exactly.
Okay, so if those 3 things don't work, I hope you're about to tell me what will improve our SRP.
Well, here's what's fun. Unlike your physical lot, you get a lot of control of how to increase or decrease your SRPs, okay? The only way you can control people pulling in on your lot is like put a police officer in the intersection in front of your dealership and have them direct traffic into your lot. That's the only way you can do it on your physical lot. But there are 6 ways that you can do it or that affect your SRPs, okay? And 4 of those 6 you have total control over, okay? So you get to dictate how good or bad your SRPs are in a way, okay? You will be limited, but you have control, and here's how. how many cars you have. Let's say you start out with 100 cars, you're getting 300,000 search results. You start slimming down your inventory and you're carrying 50 or 75 cars, you're going to naturally start losing search results. You have less cars in the market. Other way, you go from 100 to 150 cars. You should get an increase in search results because you've put more cars out there, okay, as an inventory as a whole. Okay, that increases your SRPs and VDPs. Again, I'm talking about tracking my inventory as a whole. Each car we're going to look individually when I do price changes, and I want to see if that car's results. But as an inventory as a whole, inventory count has that to do with it. Having the right mix of cars, having the cars that people are actually shopping for, are going to get you more search results. So I could have less cars, but if I have more cars that people are searching for, even though I could increase my search results and control it that way by having less inventory but having better cars that people are looking for. How fast you get them online? There's a lot of dealers, few, but there are still a lot of dealers that don't want to post a car online until it's lot ready, right? And so they might have 150 cars on their lot, but only 100 sitting online. They got 50 cars that they don't even have online to even get search results, to even get any exposure at all. So the faster you get them up there, the more SRPs you can drive in your inventory. Here's one dealers don't like talking about: the more you spend. We know about the Alpha package, Premium Alpha, Spotlights, you know, all these different packages that they offer. You spend more money to get more exposure, you will get more. If you cut back your package and you cut back expenses, you're going to anticipate a drop in your SRPs. Okay? So you do have a way to dictate how much SRPs you get on your lot by these things right here. Okay? Now there's two that you don't control. One is the market. If people stop shopping on AutoTrader or Cars.com, or if there's less shoppers. We went through a season, November, December, people getting ready for the holidays, and they're not online shopping. Typically, we've seen a decrease in traffic. They're going to get less SRPs. You can't control how many people are online looking for cars. The next one is a deeper dive. Now, I kind of obviously want a deeper here because, you know, again, 80-something% said that those things would affect it, but they're not. These are the things that would affect it. But this is something that I guess I've coined because I haven't heard anybody talking about it. But it's how many cars are out there per shopper. Okay, so how many cars per shopper are available? That's going to dictate my SRPs and VDPs. And I'm going to go over that here in a minute. But here's how you can do this yourself. This is, again, something that we do for our dealers because it's time-consuming. This happens to be a screenshot in vAuto where they have a merchandising tab where it shows you how many cars are online. I look at that. I track that. I want to know because, again, remember, if I go from 160 cars down to 140, if my SRPs are down, it's probably because I got 20 less cars. I need to know that. How many cars are missing? Again, what percentage of my inventory is not online? That's costing me my search results. How many are missing images? That's costing me a VDP, right? As long as they're online, they can get a search, but they're not going to get clicked on more than likely. But what they do in vAuto, and you can, if you don't have vAuto, if you have other systems, they might have this, or you might be able to log in to your AutoTrader or Cars.com and manually pull this data. But they show a projected SRP. So for an example, this store is tracking for the month. If they stay consistent throughout the month, they should end up with 336,000 SRPs. Now let's say I capture that number today. Next week, I'm grabbing another set of numbers, and let's say it dropped down to 306,000. If I'm not tracking that, I wouldn't have known that we just lost 30,000 SRPs in a week. I need to know why. Do I have less inventory? Did I not get them all online quick enough? Do I have the wrong cars on my lot? What made me drop 30,000 SRPs? Okay? And so again, find these numbers any way you can. vAuto, back into AutoTrader, Cars.com, and track those numbers out. Okay? Here's, again, some examples of the cause and effect of this. So if you have less cars, this top graph is showing the black line is their inventory. We're slimming it up going through the winter months, and we carried less cars. Selling the same amount, because we're being more efficient. But we have less cars online. The black is total. The yellow and blue is what's on AutoTrader and Cars.com. I want to make sure there's no big gap. Whatever I have online, I want to make sure, what I have in inventory, I want to make sure it's online. And I should have put in this graph, but it would show that their SRPs dropped off at the same time. We have less inventory. Okay, my total dropped off. But when I divide the amount of SRPs I have per car, we're actually being more effective. You can see down here at the bottom, the per car trend is up. So even though our SRPs went down, I didn't sweat it because we're being more effective with what we have. We're getting better inventory, pricing them more competitively, getting those cars online faster to get, and again, flat pricing I think does affect your SRPs. If you put it at 20 grand instead of 19.9, it does give you better SRPs, okay? But just getting more competitive won't guarantee it. Okay, so you need to know these numbers so when you see the drop in the SRPs, you know why. So let me dig into this car per shopper, because this is something I want you guys to wrap your head around and kind of, again, this is different, and to me it was a huge aha moment. I'm sitting there going, I can't believe no one's looking at this. There's so many times over the years, especially with vAuto, that I went into dealerships and they would tell me, I don't know what's going on. And I'm sure you guys sitting at stores right now have had this. They say, I don't know what's going on. We're dead. We're not getting any leads. I have, my pricing's the same. My inventory's good. My average investment, my average price is good. My package is the same. I don't know why we're getting less traffic. And I would look at their numbers and say, you're right. I don't see anywhere here that you screwed up on. The only thing I could tell them is, go ask your AutoTrader or Cars.com rep, because they're in the market. Maybe they can look at stats and see if there's less people shopping online. And that's the only answer I can give them. But here over the last 8-9 months, I've been tracking some data. And to me, I'm going, holy cow, this is it. This is the reason why. AutoTrader sends you a tune-up report. Again, there's no proprietary information. I'm going to show you what we do for dealers. You could do it yourself. You should, every Tuesday, if you have AutoTrader, get this tune-up report. If you don't, ask for it. Okay? If you don't get it, ask for it. The tune-up report, and what's cool about it is they show you, again, this is a week of January 26th through February 1st. They'll show you how many weekly shoppers were shopping on the site in your market, okay, in that time period. They'll also show you how many cars were listed for sale, total, new, and used. I capture all three of those data points, and I start tracking it out. Let me show you what I found. So, back in April, this particular dealer had 18,000 shoppers in that week. Each week from April to December, there was a drop-off in shoppers. Again, that's a seasonal thing. Nothing AutoTrader did right, or this is AutoTrader stats. Nothing they did right or wrong. It's a seasonal adjustment. Less people are shopping through the holidays and toward the end of the year. It got down to 12,900. That's a 29% decrease in active shoppers in their market. Okay? Now you can kind of see behind this blurb here, the graph's trending back up in January. Tax season's here, people are shopping again. All right? But here's the other graphs. This is how many total cars are in the market. You can see the total cars are increasing up. New cars and used cars. Back here in April, there was 9,700 used cars listed. It jumped up to 11,700. As we got a decrease of 29% of the shoppers, in the meantime, dealers are stocking up and putting more cars out on their lots. So what I do is I take the shopper, and let's go back to this stat for easy math. Let's say there's 20,000 shoppers and 20,000 cars available. That's one car per shopper, right? So let's say 2 weeks go by, there's still 20,000 shoppers, but now there's 40,000 cars. It's 2 cars available per shopper. Okay? Supply and demand. There's more cars for these people to look at than there was 2 weeks ago. So that's what we're seeing here. We went from 0.5 cars available per shopper to almost 1 car per shopper. So there was a 17% increase in the amount of used cars listed. since April, then a 29% decrease in the amount of people shopping for cars. So what that did was put a 42% increase in the amount of cars available per shoppers. Does that make sense? Less shoppers, more cars. So the point
And
is,
this happens for 6 months out of the year, basically.
no, well, I mean, each market's different. You know, over the last 2 months of one of our newer clients, the market's kind of stayed about the same. Dealers aren't putting more cars out there. It's about the same. They sell off and they replace. And the shoppers are, you know, increasing kind of week after week. This happened to be over a longer period of time. But think about this. If there's a 42% in the increase of the amount of cars available to those shoppers, do you think you can price the same in December as you did in April? Goes back to my point. When I went in a dealer, they say, I don't know what's going on. Our price is the same. Our average dollars is the same. This is the same, but we're not getting any traffic. And I can see that there's been a 42% and there's more cars being pushed and less people looking at them. We can't price our cars the same in December as we did in April. That particular dealer, we started dropping our pricing. We had to. We're getting lost in the shuffle. There's more cars popping up. They do a Ford Taurus search back in April. You know, there might have been 50 available. Now they do a Ford Taurus search in December. There was 80 of them available. I'm going to lose SRPs. And then I'm going to lose my VDPs if mine isn't price competitive to stand out against the crowd or have the options and features that people are looking for price competitively. This cars per shopper, to me, you have to know to understand how we need to price our inventory as a whole to keep our SRPs and our VDPs competitive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's, to me, I don't know. vAuto has day supply. They look at a car and say, hey, here's how many are available. Here's how fast they're selling. On a per-car basis, they got it down packed. I can pull up a car and say, boom, this is where I need to price it based off the supply and demand of a car, day supply. But when I look at my inventory as a whole and say I'm priced at 97% on average, do I need to be at 95%? Or can I raise my price? So some dealers have a dealer in Charlotte who the market really hasn't changed. Matter of fact, there's less cars available per shopper, so we're not dropping our pricing. We're staying where we're at. We've always been at 97. We're staying at 97, and we're selling more cars. But we don't have to get more aggressive because of the cars per shopper we can see. I'm using AutoTrader as an example, one, because of the report. Cars.com doesn't give you that on a weekly basis. But two, it's, again, one of the largest portals of shoppers. So if I'm going to pull data from anywhere, I want it to be out there where most people are shopping. All right, and I got to speed up here. So there's three factors, was it Jay that answered correctly, that control your VDPs: price, photos, and descriptions. Now, when I say photo, actually, not photos, correct myself, because that thumbnail is what drives that people to click on it. The quality of that photo, what I call photo direction. Your photo count and video might give you an upper hand too. Here's what I mean. And again, photo direction, I do a deeper dive into that in my last webinar on marketing used cars. But photo direction is a marketing scheme where basically you point your image toward your ad. If you got a Altima starting at $199 a month, if I have a picture of an Altima, I want it pointing to the $199 a month. So for an example, this car visually is pulling your eyes away from my ad. Visual direction, you want that thumbnail going to the right. There was a study done by AutoTrader. There was a 7% increase in people of clicks with cars pointing to the right.
Huh.
Okay. Clean, crisp thumbnail. Image count. Let's just say these are exactly the same vehicles, exactly the same price. The guy with 40 photos and 2 videos might trump the guy with 13. The customer might click on this one because there's more to see. But then your descriptions. You know, this car has a better description, breaking out exactly what this car has that people want to see. They want the car with the nav or the roof. They're going to click on this one.
Oh,
so,
you used the word moonroof.
They did. That's not one of our guys. So what she's saying, and then again I did that on my last presentation, is by using manufacturer terms like moonroof, it costs you search results. Because customers don't go to sites like cars.com and say, hey, I want a moonroof. They're going to look for sunroofs. And if we have it as a moonroof, we could lose search results on sites. I like putting both moonroof/sunroof. That way, no matter how they search for my car, my SRPs go up. Again, I covered that on my last webinar. This is a scratching the surface on some of this stuff.
No, I remembered it.
And here, with the thumbnail, always have your dealer's name, phone number, web address. Here's the reason why. Your cars, you never know where they're going to be listed. You got somebody like a Dealer Specialty, Diamond Lot. Some of these guys push your inventory out to a bunch of free sites for you. LemonFreeCars.com, AOL Motors. You don't know where your car is going to end up listed for. And if it's on some of these free sites, if you're not paying those free sites, because some of them, they have packages you can pay and get more exposure, but a lot of times they won't list the selling dealer or just say dealer. And they might not list your phone number. They can only email you. And so you want as much information on this thumbnail, because if it ends up on AOL Motor and it just shows it's a dealer, at least they know what dealer and where to call. The other thing is, if it's certified, put it in a little certified logo. Some of those photo management systems allow you to put certified logos onto your cars that are certified. Because again, if it ends up on a site that customers don't know it's certified because it's on some free site, at least by their image, because your car, your certified, is going to be priced higher than the nons, and the customer is just going to overlook it. So have is good banner, certification information, maybe even a Carfax, one owner logo. You can have those put on there, again, in case they don't have that ability on whatever site they find your car on. So, you know, when you have vehicles that are missing photos, you're missing VDPs. Stats show no photos, 1% click-through. Stock photos only get 2%, so you might as well not have, you know, doesn't matter. So here's, again, know what is missing online and the cause and effect. So we track out the percentage of inventory missing photos. You can see we were driving that down. We had an issue with the turnaround guy, a detail guy, slowed us down. The percentage of cars without photos jumped up. Guess what happened to my VDPs per car? When I looked at this graph, I seen a drop off in my VDP per car and go, holy cow, what happened? Well, missing photos. We got 55% of our cars missing photos now versus 40. That obviously is decreasing the amount of VDPs I have. So study your VDPs and know the cause and effect. You got to trim those things out. Okay. So I'm going faster because I know we're running out of time. 1, know where you're pushing your sales out. 0 to 30, 60 plus. Track that. You'll start improving those numbers. 2, manage inventory by last time your price was changed. 3, walk every car listed online. Make sure photos, descriptions stand tall. 4, know your SRP VDPs. Okay? Track those out and know your CPS, your cars per shopper, if you can, if you happen to be on AutoTrader. Then your turnaround time. Okay, and I'll go through this real fast, but it's your virtual frontline readiness. You're going to get more searches the fast as you get cars online. So at least there's more you can be tracking, but at least top 7 you're going to want to track in your time to numbers. How fast does it take you to get a car with a list price? How fast are you getting descriptions on your cars? How fast are you getting photos done? How fast you get them online? Through service, in service, out of service. How long does it take you to get it into service? It might take you 2 days to get it in and only 1 day to get it out, or vice versa, 1 day to get it in and 2 days to get it out. Time to detail, in detail and out of detail. Transportation, title holds, trade-ins, and the stock, you know, you need to be tracking those numbers, because if it's taken us 10 days on average to get a car with good photos and descriptions online, we need to figure out how to get it down to 5, and by zeroing in on those issues, that's where it's going to help you improve those numbers.
What would be a good time frame? What would you say, hey, this dealership is clicking, if they could get this used car that they just got in online?
3 ideal, 3 to 5 days.
3 to 5.
3 would be ideal. But you almost can do it in 1 or 2 days. If you just did temporary photos, even if you buy a car from the auction, we got a lot of dealers that will grab the auction photos, copy those, and post a few of those good photos from the auction, because it might take a week to get it transported. But that doesn't stop me from getting some photos, a good competitive price, and some description, get some activity going on it.
Right.
Okay? So you can do it in a day or 2 if you're really efficient, but 3 to 5 days would be the ideal. Here's tools to do this. I'm going to throw you 3 or 4 again. I'm not pitching any of them. These are just out there for you to go look at. Viato, if you have it already, if you have their merchandising, they have a life cycle summary, which it will track those things. You need to get a hold of your performance manager, help them edit and set this up, but you can also customize it, and you can see here, down here, time to this, counting the recon, in detail, out of detail. You can get in depth with some of those things. There's a company called Rapid Recon out there. That's all they do. That life cycle here on steroids. They actually will notify people when the cars hit their buckets. I mean, and tons of reporting. That's all they do is help dealers turnaround time. Okay, get a hold of them. Or you can go a free route. This is an Excel spreadsheet that that dealers put into their network, and everybody has access to it at the dealer's network, and their service and their porter people. There's time stamping as they manage those cars. Okay, you could do that on Excel or maybe Google Drive. That's available live for free. Okay, so you don't have to pay for it. It takes a little bit more work, but those are some tools. If you want to email me, I can maybe even send you this Excel spreadsheet if that's the route you want to go. Okay, but definitely look at Rapid Recon, and if you have Viato, the merchandising card is already in there. And you know, some of the things, this guy happens to have Rapid Recon, and we will go in there and capture down to the detail guy and see how each week how fast they're moving their inventory. You can see here Gus had an issue last week. He was down to 1 day turnaround time and jumped up to 3 days. What happened to Gus? What's going on? Let's fix that problem. Because this is the dealer, again, the percentage of photos shot up on us. That's slowing us down. That's costing us sales and gross. So take a deep breath. Takeaways. One, I hope I gave you a deeper dive into velocity. Okay, it's about maximizing our dollars and turning it. It's about being efficient at these 5 things I just went over. It's not about just pushing more cars in my inventory to get more sales. We don't want to do that. I can sell 100 cars carrying 100. I've got dealers selling 120 cars carrying 100. You can get more efficient. Okay, so hopefully we went over a deeper dive of velocity. Processes that you can control. Now, somebody might say, well, how come you didn't cover having the right cars in inventory in your appraisal process? That's obviously a way you can improve gross and volume, and I get that. But we can't control our inventory a lot of times. Here's why. We don't control what we trade for. If the customer pulls in on the lot, we're going to make a deal or not. We might get stuck in a lot of cars we didn't want for too much money. The other thing is I could be efficient at shopping auctions, and I can have a list of the 20 best cars to put on my lot. But one, if it's not at the auction, I can't get it. Or 2, it's at the auction, but they're going for $2 grand more than I'm willing to spend. But I need 10 cars, so guess what I do? I can't buy the ones I want, so I go buy 10 auction cars, or lease returns, just to have something on my lot. And now I got cars that I really didn't want, but I needed inventory. So there's a lot of, you can't control. You can seek those cars out, spend a lot of time, but you can't show up today and say, hey, I want to magically have better cars in my lot right now so I can drive more traffic. So I wanted to go over things that you do have control of that you can start doing now to make a difference. Metrics that matter, again, SRP, VDP, cars per shopper, 0 to 30, 60 plus, where are we pushing those cars out? And again, importance of virtual lot walk, you have to do that. Again, these are things that we do for dealers, but you can do that yourself. You just got to get it done. And you got to do it, not the photo person, because they've already taken the photo, the bad photo. They don't see a problem with it, or if they wouldn't have took the photo. Some resources. My mentor, the guy I found at Viato, DalePollock.com, he's wrote 3 books about velocity. There's tons of information there. My blog, AutomotiveRevolution.com. I consistently post some things on there. I also post some stuff on driving sales, but not just my stuff. There's a ton of information, driving sales, and Dealer Refresh. There's a Dealer Refresh, 2 great sources of blogs. I should put them on there too. This has nothing to do with this, but Rhinoceros Success. Love that as a car person. If you don't have that book, get it. Quick read, funny read. It's a good book about being a rhinoceros, having 2-inch thick skin and bulldozing and being not the cow in the pasture eating your cut. I mean, it's a great motivational book to pump you up to do all this stuff because it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy and focus, okay? So, flip it over to you, Aliana. I think I did okay.
Wow. I have to say, Jason, man, every time you were on, you always surprise me with something new that I have never seen or never heard of. And you did it again today, man. That was really incredible. Audience, if you haven't yet sent in your questions for the brilliant Jasen Rice, now would be a great time to do so. We're going to get to those in just a moment. Before we do, though, we're going to give you an opportunity to win some cashola, some moolah, especially since if you're all here, then you, like me and Jason, probably did not win the Powerball last night. So who knows? Maybe this $200 prepaid Visa gift card could help you out a little bit, okay? So If you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, well, I announced that our great friends over at Lot Pop are giving away a cool prize today. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to take home a $200 prepaid Visa gift card, and all you have to do is be the first one to answer our question correctly. It's easy, right? It's about the presentation you just saw. So everyone get to your keyboards, get ready. Here comes your question. I'm going to ask that any vendors that are listening, please sit this one out. Do me a favor. This prize really is intended for dealership personnel, but we do thank you for your cooperation on that. All right, everyone, good luck. Earlier in the presentation, Jason discussed the 6 factors that control SRPs. Now, 4 of them you have control over, and as you heard, 2 of them you do not. Jason would like you to name 1 of the 2 that you have no control over. Let's see what the audience says. Oh, I think we have the first person who wrote in has it correctly. Jason, number of shoppers in market. That's correct, right?
Yes, yep, the amount of people in the market, yes.
All right, congratulations to J.R. Tompkinson. You are our winner today. You have just scored yourself a $200 prepaid Visa gift card. I hope that works out well for you, J.R. He already wrote in, woohoo! I hope I said that right, J.R. Please write on in and let me know what dealership you're from so I can give you a proper congratulations. Hold on, I'm writing down your name, Tompkinson. And I want to thank all of our attendees today for playing along. That was not an easy question. Okay, let's see. Oh, I think he might be a owner or something. Tompkinson BMW in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Oh, he's the GM. Congratulations, JR. You are our winner today. Of course, thank you to everyone for playing along. And, of course, we want to also thank our good friends at Lot Pop for their incredible generosity. All right, here we go. Are you ready, Jason, for some pointed questions?
Yes, I am. Should I put this here? And hold on one second. Go there.
He's going to turn on his webcam. Make sure you put it on the next slide. And like I said, audience, if you haven't written in your question, we got a handful of really, really wonderful questions that came in. But we'd love to hear from you as well.
And unable to share webcam. Okay, hold on.
Really?
Not right now.
Stinks.
Hold on. I know. We're unable. It's something going on with your. Can you hear me? Yeah, obviously you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. So it says it's experiencing difficulties. I will turn it on when it comes up.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's get going to our first question. This one comes from Joseph, and he went back to the whole thing with the pictures because I think he, like I, could not believe that those pictures were actually pictures that you found on AutoTraderCars.com. That's crazy.
Yeah.
He said, well, maybe the photographer thinks if the dealer doesn't care enough to not let an inferior car on the lot, why should he care not to take the picture of that car? Okay, so other than taking a wooden bat to the photographer's head, do you have any other suggestions on how we can instill a sense of pride in the dealer lot photographer?
Well, you know, one of the things, and again, I don't try to sales pitch or anything what we do, but, you know, that's a lot of those are ones that my current clients are doing, and, you know, I take that snapshot and I send it off to them. That's how I end up putting them online, too, at the same time. And I delete out the dealer information not to embarrass them, but, you know, every time I run into that stuff, I email the general manager or used car manager, and here, you know, and they address those with the photographer. You know, one of the things that I push a lot in that back photo on that trunk shot is have your dealer plate there. And it's free advertising. You need to get your dealer's name branding out there as much as possible. So if you don't have dealer plates that you put on your cars as they sit online, have that back and that front shot show your dealer's name. Again, we don't know where our cars end up, and we want people to know whose car that is. But there's so many times that I think I sent in the last dealer like 10 cars that didn't have that back plate on. So they go address that with the photo people, and they make them redo it. and get the photo done right. And so it's just a training process, but you got to catch those things and show it to them and say, hey, look, we can't have this, and then work with them to continue not to do it, you know. And they get better and better, but we still catch things all the time with that stuff.
I got you. Hey, is there any way for you to go to your next slide with all your contact information on it?
Do you not see that now? 'Cause
No, I am seeing the prepaid Visa gift card slide still.
All right. Audience view, how about now? No?
Well, I'm not seeing it.
All right, hold on. I'm clicking through. I went to survey and then my contact information. And yeah, it's showing. I apologize. It's showing it's there. Should I flip it to you? I mean, it's on. We had my camera and all that up before the show, and
yeah, I know.
It's working properly. Let me do this and reset it. Are we good? Hold on. Let me check something real quick. It's saying that you can't see me anyways. Hold on.
I mean, is it on play or is it on pause by any chance?
No,
I don't
hold
know.
on. I think my Wi-Fi might have had a little hiccup, so let me reset that real quick. It doesn't take too long.
Poya, I haven't asked your question yet, but I will ask it in just another moment. But thank you for checking in with me. And Jason, yeah, there we go.
All right, now we can do the web camera. There we go. This is going to be embarrassing. And I told Aliana, too, that my New Year's resolution is going to get a new updated photo because I have a lot more gray now than I did in that picture. And they didn't like it. They thought I looked bad.
It's so funny because you're talking about how the photos have to be really, really good.
I know, exactly.
It's just the irony that I appreciate. So, all right, great. I'm glad you have that up there because your contact information's up there. And I got to tell you, he always comes up with pearls of wisdom, this guy. All right, let's get to this next question from, today's winner, JR. He wrote a question early on. He said, wouldn't better descriptions, card descriptions, improve SRPs just based on keyword searches? Any comment, Jason?
Yeah, you can, but again, that's nothing that you can control because we don't know how many people will put in those keywords. I agree with you, yes. Problem is, and this is why you can't use these manufacturers' wording, is, for example, AutoTrader has the ability to do a drop-down with options, and they could choose sunroof, rear entertainment, or they put DVD player and things like that. Cars.com doesn't allow them to do that. They get to type whatever they want at the bottom. So we don't know, one, what percentage of people say they want a sunroof to say, hey, I got sunroof in my description. That will help get those type of buyers, and I agree with you. And again, that's what I covered on my last webinar. That does increase SRPs, being more efficient with your descriptions, but you can't guarantee it's going to happen. Just like dropping a price, I can't guarantee more search results. Going from 20,000 to 19,750, it just depends on people who are searching. That can't guarantee me, like putting more cars out there will, or having the right cars will. But yeah, definitely. Now, cars.com, people can, in Craigslist and all these sites, they can type in whatever they want. And if they put in roof, they might not get the same results as sunroof or moonroof. And navigation, they might put GPS. I rent cars all the time, or used to when I traveled for 8 years, and I'd ask for a navigation, and they go, huh? And I said, well, you mean a GPS? And I said, yeah. And so my vision is this person goes home and shops for a car, they might type in GPS. My car listed with navigation won't show up. So yeah, you're right. It can help your SRPs and will, but it's not as controllable as those other 4 things I went over.
And my question is that even trackable? Like, does AutoTrader or Cars.com tell you, hey, this month, 12,600 people searched for sunroofs?
The most I've ever gotten from AutoTrader, and again, we were partnered with them, and I'm sure they would share that data if need be, but it was, I got a report on, they looked at major markets versus small markets, and part of that report showed what percentage of people actually put in some keyword searches, and it was like 20% did it, but it didn't specify how much did sunroof or nav. But think about that. And it's JR, right? The key to that is somebody's going to broadly search when they first start searching for a car. I think the new stat, AutoTrader just did a report, was something like only 21% of the people knew what they're looking for when they first started shopping. So 70, 80% did a broad search. Maybe they did a sedan between 20 and 25 grand. As they start finding cars, maybe they say, oh, I want a BMW, and then they want a 3 Series, and then they want a 3, and then as they're getting closer into purchasing, they say, you know what, I want a 08 to 2010 BMW 3 Series, no higher than 25 grand or 20 grand, and I want one with a roof or sunroof. So those keywords, by having those right, you're going to funnel yourself down into the buying cycle of these customers and get the people that are ready to pull the trigger better too, if that makes sense.
I think it makes sense.
Having those descriptions as they're narrowing down exactly what they want, and you have it out there with the accurate description, the way they put it out there. And again, my other webinar went over it. I put in rear entertainment DVD player, because they might say rear entertainment. If I have it as DVD player, it won't work. GPS navigation. If they type in nav, I want to be there. Sunroof, moonroof.
Yeah, JR already wrote in. He said thanks. He likes your approach.
Yeah, go on my other webinar. I covered it for an hour of all that stuff, thumbnails.
Oh my gosh, it was a really great webinar. Definitely eye-opening. If you want to go check out that webinar, go to dealeron.com/webinar and click on the link on the right-hand side for on-demand webinars. And there you'll see every webinar we've ever recorded. And just look for our friend Jasen Rice for his previous webinar. It was really, really good. Okay, let's get to this last few questions because we are really over on time. Your next question comes to you from Poya. Poya says, when we have customers coming in with our internet price, most of the time that deal is a mini deal, 100% in commission to the salesperson. How can we price a car online and then raise it when people come in? If we sell with internet price, there's no gross. If you could shine some light on this, that would be great. Thanks.
That's an obstacle. A lot of dealers say they have to price up because customers, we've trained them to negotiate. We have as an industry. And, again, if you happen to be a vAuto client, I know they do workshops that cover that, how to get over. One, you got another important factor. It doesn't increase your sales, the 5 things that I went over to help increase your sales, but it's going to increase your gross, is tracking how much you're discounting the cars. But yeah, a lot of times it's magical how the customers find those great deals. And so, when you're pricing a car 15% below market because it's aged, there's no, there's no gross left, and so they've become mini deals. And that's why, again, getting more competitive pricing out the gate where there's more gross instead of marking them up. My bet is a lot of those minis end up being aged cars, because we might price up our fresh cars too high. And to be real quick is, I can go in a dealer and they have a 30-day average inventory and it looks good. They turn their inventory 12 times a year. If you can get in the double digits, you're doing a good job. But they suffering with gross because they mark their fresh cars high, 100%, 105, 100. Hey, I'm not making any gross, so I need to get it on my fresh cars. They mark them up high, and then they don't pay attention to middle buckets, and when it's 50, 60 days old, they cut their knees out from underneath them and just drop the price to 90% to get it off before it's aged. And so they sell their inventory within a 60 days or a 30-day average, but their gross is suffering because 60% of their sales are going out on these cars that are finally priced competitively, where if we would have done it from the beginning, 97, 98%, dropped it to 95, 93, and then 90, and I'm talking about to the market, 100%, meaning we're average price to the market, and then we drop it 3%, 5%, 8%, 10%. You'll get those cars moving at those higher buckets where there's more gross. So another gross problem could be your recon. We're paying too much, or the people are not paying too much recon, but doing a lot of recon work as we get rough cars, or buying cars for too much money. So there's a lot of reasons why we end up with a mini deal, packs, other things like that, but majority of the time we're pushing. When we finally get aggressive, it's when it's aged, and we're willing to take those mini deals so we don't lose a wholesale, and that's where a good chunk of our sales come from.
Got you. All right, Poya, I hope that helped you out. We do have to get to these last 2 questions before we close out the show. Okay, Jasen, I know you could talk for another hour, babe.
I can go on forever. Yep.
I got you, baby. But I'll tell you what, audience, if he hasn't addressed your question, you can always get in touch with him. Super, super nice guy, and obviously kind of brilliant. Don't tell him I said that. I don't want his head to get too big. Okay,
Right, yeah.
Jason, your next
Red.
question comes from Stephen. Stephen says, do you suggest to have a car up without full pictures and using stock photos? Or should we wait till it gets serviced and cleaned and use real photos? Jason?
I would use real photos even before it's cleaned. You know, like that guy with the crooked plate and dirty. I would have took the plate off and backed up, or put the dealer plate on and back up so you don't see it so dirty, or find different angles, or just run it through the wash real quick and take 2 or 3 exterior pictures real quick on those. Or a lot of things that we're doing with our dealers that can't get it through service fast enough is we're going ahead and detailing it in photo and getting it online. So the one stat, 1% of people, or 1% click-through rate if it has no photo, and only 2% if it has stock photos. So stock photos is almost like no photos anyways. So I would either get auction photos, temporary ones, just back up. You know, you don't have to be as close. If it's dirty or something, just get different angles that doesn't show that as bad. And then, or go ahead and detail it day one, get it cleaned up as best you can, take the pictures, and then let it finish through the recon cycle. Because if you decide to wholesale it, a clean car at the auction will go for more money too, typically, also. So, I mean.
Oh, he wrote back in. Thank you for answering my question. Anytime, Stephen. Thank you for coming to a Dealer on Webinar. Okay, last question comes to you from Elmer. Elmer, isn't he the one who won last time?
From the Netherlands?
From the Netherlands. I think it might be him. Okay, Jason, on the banner of the first car image, why not give more info on the car in the banner instead of the dealer contact details? I think people want to see the car details first. If those are okay, after that, customer will check out the dealer info. Do you agree?
Yeah, again, it depends on, you know, where my inventory is ending up. If it's ending up a lot of it on sites that might not give dealer information, I'm going to want my dealer stuff on there. I have tried it. We're actually done a collage of photos. There's 4 photos. The first exterior photo, then the moonroof, and then the entertainment, you know, the 4 hot things. And I've done that in a collage, thinking, okay, I could show them everything right here, minimal. But I do see dealers that will put sunroof, nav, and stuff in their banner. Again, I don't object to it. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a good idea, other than the fact if it ends up on a site, some generic site, you don't have any branding. And the biggest thing, again, I want not only my cars, but every time somebody does a search for cars, I want them to keep seeing my stuff. And eventually, when they're ready to buy, they know we have a good amount of inventory. Every time I do a search, this dealer pops up, so let's go drive by there and see what they have. I know they got this one, and it looked like they have a few more. So I want that mindset going on with customers, so I just want to brand. And that's mostly the reason. We're paying for that real estate. It's not cheap, and you know, that car is only going to be on my lot for hopefully a month or 2, but my dealer is going to be around for a long time, and I want people to know my dealer more than that car a lot of times, so I just want to brand. And that's mostly it. Again, you won't go wrong putting those options there. I don't see a problem with that either. Hello? Hello?
Jason, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully you can hear me.
No, you're good, you're good. Elmer wrote in thanks, and he said, the dealer branding effect. Very, very nice, smiley face. So he understands. And Jason, thank you so much. That was another brilliant. Oh, and he does say he was the winner last time. Aha!
Oh, he was? Okay, cool. That guy's from the Netherlands, of all places. Yeah, we had a little issue there. But
I knew it. Jason, fabulous presentation. Thank you so much. You always do such a good job. I posted on Facebook yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, but I said, you got to come to this webinar. Jasen Rice gives good webinar. So there you go. And you do.
Thank you very much.
You definitely do. Hopefully we'll have you back on the show again soon. Thank you so much. Of course, audience, we're past the top of the hour, so any questions that weren't answered during the time allotted will be answered by email later today. But if you have an opportunity, if you need to reach out to one of the most knowledgeable guys in the biz on this topic, please feel free to contact him directly. His contact information is on the screen now. I want to remind all of you in the audience, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording is also going to be emailed to you later today for your reference, so please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. It was a great webinar. And today's webinar is also going to be posted online within 24 hours. Just go to dealeron.com/webinars, and there you can view our upcoming webinar schedule or access any of our past webinars. And at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey, and it is short. Baby, it's 5 questions. You guys can do this. It's really super short. So please fill it out. We're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. And invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next webinar. Ready, set, grow your fixed ops with this digital game plan with our friends from Dynamic Beacon, Justin Brunn and Ben Kohler. We hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the odds are pretty high that new and used vehicle profit margins are likely to compress even more in 2015. Therefore, smart dealerships will make it one of their highest priorities this year to improve fixed operations. Do you have a digital marketing game plan to increase fixed ops profitability in 2015? Well, in this info-packed 1-hour webinar, Justin Brunn and Ben Kohler of Dynamic Beacon, they're going to present a number of simple yet highly effective digital marketing initiatives to help you attract and grow customer loyalty for your fixed ops. A few of the items they're going to cover: enhanced website content to compete against the independents, targeted incentive-based offers to prevent defection, and how to generate more reviews online. Woo! This may very well be one of the most valuable presentations you see all year. So if you're looking for a digital game plan for attracting and growing fixed ops loyalty and proven ways to increase the profitability of your fixed ops, then this is a webinar you just can't afford to miss. I hope we'll see you there. So don't forget, Dealeron's weekly webinars are held every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, feel free to contact me directly. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio. I love hearing from you, so track me down online. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. I'm on all the automotive social networks, or you can email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on another webinar in Dealeron's continuing education series. Take care of yourselves.